Good morning, Unity Center of DC. I've enjoyed everybody's banter this morning. I'm Claudia Carawan from Richmond, Virginia, sharing a song, The Driver's Seat, co-written with my good friend, Sue Riley. On life's highway, fast and free, ignoring signs in front of me. I used to hurry here and there, but I couldn't get nowhere. I was living foolishly. My favorite word was always no. It held me back out of the flow. Now it's clear, I must confess, there's more to gain by saying yes. Love is in the driver's seat. When I let love lead the way, life is better every day. Whoa, and now it's plain to see I'm where I'm supposed to be when love is in the driver's seat. Life is feeling pretty sweet. Smile at everyone I meet. I play the game but don't keep score. I don't need to anymore, 'cause love is in the driver's seat. When I let love lead the way, life is better every day. Oh, and now it's plain to see I'm where I'm supposed to be, with love in the driver's seat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Love, love, love. Talking about love. Oh, sweet love in the driver's seat. Love, sweet love. Oh, sweet love. Talking about love in the driver's seat. Heading on down the road, yeah. Love, sweet love. Ooh, love, sweet love in the driver's seat. Love, sweet love. Love, sweet love. I'm cruising in the driver's seat. Love, love, I'm cruising. Oh, I'm cruising. Driver's seat.
Claudia, thank you so much. That is a wonderful start to what's going to be a wonderful service, and we thank you. And with that, I think I'll start with the introduction of Claudia, if I may, and I know some of us have seen her before. She is returning, and we're so happy to have you again. She runs leads the music program at the Unity of Bon Air in Richmond. And she is an award-winning singer, songwriter, and international recording artist. Obviously a great vocalist and apparently plays several instruments. So multi-talented, and thank you for sharing those talents with us this morning. We appreciate it, Claudia. And really, really pleased to welcome Jackie Woodside. And she is, she attends Unity on the River, and she is a best-selling author. She's a TEDx speaker, international trainer, professional coach, and she founded something called, and I'd like to, haven't had a chance to look it up yet, but I will, Curriculum for Conscious Living and the Conscious Living Summit. So we're really thrilled to have you. Thank you so much, Jackie. Looking forward to it. I now relax and focus on my breath, easily releasing any thoughts of doubt, worry, lack, or fear. I turn within to the core of my being, that heart space where I remember and feel my connection to the source. I breathe with the calm and gentle knowing that God is with me now and in every moment. I hold this comfort like a warm hug. And so it is. And now we have special music again with Claudia.
This is another original song. I co-wrote this with a dear friend, Mr. J.D. Martin. It's called The Coming Light. In my backyard there stands an old oak tree. She's weathered far more storms than me. When the winds of life rage all around, she digs her roots deep in the ground. The birds are singing, the bees are humming, the breeze is blowing fresh and bright. The world starts over, and so do I, welcoming the coming light, welcoming the coming light. I took a walk down a downtown street. I saw a flower growing through the concrete. I was so impressed with this little one, pushing through the rock, reaching to the sun. The birds are singing, the bees are humming, the breeze is blowing fresh and bright. The world starts over, and so do I, welcoming the coming light, welcoming the coming light. Shine down, shine down on me, wash over me, chase away the shadow, cast your light on me, yeah. The birds are singing, the bees are humming, the breeze is blowing fresh and bright. The world starts over, and so do I, welcoming the coming light, welcoming the coming light, welcoming the coming light, welcoming the coming light.
Thank you, Claudia. It's so great to be here with all of you. Let's just take that in for a minute, right? Welcome in the coming light. And I think about the times that we're in, really extraordinary times for us to be alive. And that's my prayer, that we are here welcoming in the coming light. So hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation to be your celebrant today and to speak to all of you. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get started with this notion of finding serenity in unexpected places. Again, we're at a time in the evolution of consciousness that finding serenity is really top of mind, isn't it? Is it just me, or other people are feeling that as well, right? Yeah. So let's dive in. Last February, I'm from Massachusetts, and we had quite a nor'easter come through last February. And I know, and there was, it was just a ton of snow and a lot of intense weather. And I know in DC, you guys this summer have been having some pretty intense weather as well, floods and the blackouts, the lights going out, electricity going out, and some really, really intense storms. So I was in this storm. There was like a lull in the storm, and my poor dog had been in for hours and hours. So during the lull in the storm, I thought, well, I'll go out and walk my dog Zozo during the lull in the storm. And while I was out walking Zozo, I came across my neighbor, and, who smiled, and, we did our greetings. And then without a second thought, he just like, oh, I can't believe this. And look at all this snow, and we've got so much cleanup to do. And I was just like, all right. I said, well, look around. It's really beautiful. I mean, after all, it's February in New England. So then I walked a few streets further, and there was a new neighbor who had just moved in, and he was out shoveling, and I was happy to see him. And I went over and introduced myself, introduced my dog, and he had a dog as well. And I was like, wow, isn't this beautiful? And he's like, no, I just bought this house and I didn't pay attention because I bought it before the snow. Look at the slope on this driveway. How am I ever going to take care of this? This is just going to be too much. And I was like, okay, here we go then. And I walked just 3 houses later, and my friend Chris is out, and he's got this new furball puppy. Oh my God, the cutest little thing. One of those miniature golden doodles. Have you guys ever seen one of those? To die for. Just little furballs. So I was like, Chris, let me see the baby. Isn't this gorgeous? He's like, gorgeous. He's like, this is not very good puppy weather. And I was like, wow. Look at what we do with our minds, right? Look at what we do with our minds. Look at our habitual experience or habitual practices in how we use our mind. And look at how each of those people, and perhaps you see yourself as well, look at how we are creating our experience. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity movement, once wrote, oh, I love this quote, right? Words are seeds that when dropped in the invisible spiritual substance grow and bring forth after their kind. Words are seeds when dropped in the invisible spiritual substance go forth and bring forth after their kind. Words are seeds. How you speak your world is how you create your world. So, and from a consciousness perspective, that's how we create our experience of life, which leads me perfectly into today's theme, finding serenity in unexpected places. Because until we can find serenity in the storms of life, both the actual literal storms like we have in DC with the rains and in New England with the snow, both the literal ones and the metaphorical ones, like the health challenges. I'm just getting over COVID after 2.5 years of not getting it. I'm just getting over COVID. So the health challenges, the financial challenges, the relationship challenges that we all have, until we can find serenity in all of the storms of life, we will never truly know peace. We will never be able to find serenity in unexpected places, because that requires that we begin to look at how we are using our mind, how we are using our emotions. Maybe that sounds like an unusual phrase. You'd be like, Jackie, what are you talking about, how I use my mind? Maybe you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't use my mind, I just have my mind. A little bit like, vision. I don't use my vision, I just have my vision and it does its thing, or my hearing, or my balance. I'm not using my balance, I just have my balance. I'm not using my mind, I just have my mind. Maybe you think that your mind just sort of does its own thing. Well, I'm here to tell you today, you cannot relate to mind in that way. You cannot relate to it like it's just doing its own thing. Well, I can't help it. It's just the way that I think. Maybe you think that. Maybe you think, well, I can't help it. But there's a quote from A Course in Miracles that I want to share with you today. And it says, you may think you are responsible for what you do, but not for what you think. The truth is, you are responsible for what you think, because it's only at this level that you can exercise choice. What you do stems from what you think. So in other words, what I want to share with you today, mind is everything. Mind is your link with the universal substance of God. So perhaps the most unexpected place that you can find serenity is within your own mind. It is our mind that causes our tragedies and our upsets and our stress, and it is our mind that will lead us to peace. By paying attention to, training, and disciplining how you use your mind, I promise you, your mind can become an instrument of peace. And here's the thing, how I want to introduce the possibility that you relate to life is an ongoing opportunity to discipline your mind. Life is an ongoing, moment to moment to moment. Yes, just another opportunity to discipline my mind, to train myself and how to use my mind in a particular way. This is what I call developing a conditioned consciousness. Unconditioned consciousness is, pretty much the human ego just run amok, right? It's all of your collection of opinions and judgments and complaints and worries and projections and perceptions. Right? Gas is too expensive. The weather is too hot. It's too humid. It's too wet. In January, it'll be, it's too cold. The line's too long. The service is too slow. The food's too expensive. I can't trust people. I have to be careful. I work too much. I need a second job. Anybody see yourself in any of that? Right? How are you using your mind? It's truly endless. So rather than living with this litany of complaints and judgments, our calling as spiritual people committed to awakening is to use every opportunity to discipline the mind and use it in service of life, growth, expansion, and being your God self on earth. Literally use your mind and your emotions in a particular way. So how do you discipline the mind? How do you use the mind in a particular way? Well, you do that by consciously choosing what you're going to focus on. So lately, I've been working with this notion of how to find serenity in your own mind. And as I've been working with this idea, I've kind of noticed that I have a tendency to be maybe a little impatient. Maybe just a tad bit of a tendency toward frustration. And just simple things like if I drop something like, oh, geez, or I can't find something like, oh, God, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep track of things? Or if my dog gets, is out in the backyard and she's on her lead and she walks around a tree and then she starts barking. So I'll stick my head out and I'll say, honey, no, walk, you got to go around. Zozo, go around. And so she walks around the tree again. And now she's stuck twice and she'll bark again. And I'm like, oh, come on, right? That kind of low-hanging fruit of life. That's not even the big stuff, simple things. Anyone else relate to that? Anyone else see yourselves in that? Because here's the thing, simple little things, but when there is an overt tendency toward frustration and impatience, those small, simple things add up to a way of being. And when that happens, there's no freedom. There's no peace. There's no serenity. Now, look, I've been told before I'm a tad on the impatient side, but I couldn't see it. I really couldn't see my own impatience. I was just, I'm a little type A, I'm a little driven. But as I grow in consciousness, it's like peeling off the layers of the onion. Now I see it everywhere. And as I see it, I can choose differently. I can choose peace instead of this. I can choose patience instead of this. Getting to the core of who I am, because every time we interrupt the ego's tendency to see problems, express complaints, engage in judgment, be impatient, that is when you begin to find serenity in unexpected places. You find serenity in your own mind. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. In fact, you do this. I want you to take a moment now to notice where you have conditioned your consciousness, where you're not run by your ego. You are succeeding at this far more than you give yourself credit for. You do see the blessings all around you. You are kind. You are generous and giving to this church, to your family, to the community, to your friends. You smile at strangers. You express gratitude for simple exchanges in the coffee shop or the grocery store line. You have grown into a loving, caring, faithful steward. And as you do so, you see that there is an enormity of your soul that is so much bigger than the day-to-day worries and petty complaints of your ego. Right? You do feel the difference. When you're out, you're kind, you're connected. And then when you retreat into your own mind. Because the truth is, the more you discipline your mind and condition your consciousness, the more you will find serenity and know peace. So many people today are trapped in depression, anxiety, addiction. I was a therapist for 30 years. I spent literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of hours listening to human beings talk about their lives. There's all manner of messiness in life because, now listen to this, check yourself. There's all manner of messiness in life because people are using their mind in the wrong way. Mostly because they never came to realize that they can discipline their mind and condition their consciousness, that they can elevate their emotions. At every moment, you have a choice to determine how will you use your mind. Because the truth is, you are always being lived by something. You are always being lived by something. You're being lived by faith or fear. You're being lived by unconditional love or judgment. You're being lived by separation or oneness. You're being lived by impatience or serenity. At every moment, you are being lived by something. And our path, our walk as spiritual beings having a human experience is to more and more be lived by the divine essence of who I really am and who you really are. In some ways, what I'm talking about here is a process of healing and recovery. Healing and recovery. What are you recovering from? Want me to tell you? You're recovering from your addiction to your ego. Yeah. You're recovering from your addiction to your own ego. Maybe you thought you made it through life unscathed by the tentacles of addiction that reaches into people's lives. Even if you're not addicted to a substance like alcohol, weed, sugar, painkillers. Maybe if you made it through life without being addicted to work or screen sucking behaviors or porn. If you think you don't have an addiction, think again. Because here's this. Addiction is defined by doing the same thing over and over again, even when you recognize it hurts you. It harms you in some way. It's not good for you. Doing the same thing, doing the same thing over and over and over again, even when you know it's not good for you, even when you recognize it's harmful. How many of you repeat the same thought patterns, the same emotional cycles, even though you recognize this isn't my highest self, this isn't good for me, I don't need to worry about this. That is what I'm talking about when I say you are addicted to your ego. So what we are talking about here in developing conditioned consciousness is a process of healing and recovery. So the step one of Ego Addicts Anonymous, we have admitted we were powerless over the ego and that our lives have become unmanageable, right? So if you experience chronic worry, frustration, impatience, if you have relational upsets and dramas, if you are judging and criticizing yourself or others, being lived by fear more than faith, you are addicted to the ego. You following me? You kind of wish we'd never met at this point? Yeah. Good, good, good. I am going someplace with this. I promise you, it's going to get better, right? So there's two expressions of this. One of the expressions of your addiction to the ego points outward. Points outward, being right, getting your way, defending your point of view, being argumentative, that kind of, I'm right and don't tell me otherwise. Or, I'm really attached, your attachments. And then there's one that points inward, self-criticism, playing small, being afraid of taking risks or what people will think about you, feeling that you're not good enough or that your life doesn't matter. All of these tendencies that we all have, I have them myself. The only difference is I don't care that I have them any longer. I don't empower them in any way any longer, right? So these are the manifestations of your addiction to your ego. And these are the things that limit and restrict your life without a disciplined mind. And with that, I promise you, you will never find serenity. So let me talk about, there's a myriad of ways to begin conditioning your mind. Unity is a path of spiritual education that is all about this. We do teach in Unity that our mind is our connection with God. But I just want to bring forth 3 simple ways that you can begin to condition how you're using your mind. They're things that you already know, but I want to bring it into this context of you developing a conditioned consciousness. The first one is meditation of any kind, of any duration. In fact, the latest neuroscience research has shown that 1 minute of meditation 3 or 4 times throughout the day has equal benefit of 20 minutes of seated meditation. 1 minute. Now, look, guys, I've been a coach, an empowerment coach and spiritual teacher for 30 years. And so I've had this conversation about meditation with thousands of people. And I hear over and over and over again, Jackie, I've tried meditation. I just can't do it. To which I say, no, that is meditation. That is meditation. Of course you can't do it. Do you know when you'll be able to just sit down and have a quiet mind? It's when you're going to be in that 6-foot hole and we're standing around you saying, wasn't she such a great gal? That's when you'll be able to quiet your mind. You see, meditation at the beginning is not about being able to sit down and have a quiet mind. I really want to tell you that because maybe some of you have struggled with this. Meditation at the early phases is about noticing the fact that you have no control over your mind. That is the beginning of meditation. So if you're one of those people that's like, Jackie, I tried meditation, I just can't do it. I want to tell you, you can. That is meditation. That is the whole point, is to see your mind run amok and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. And it doesn't have to be any particular kind of meditation. Simply counting your breath is a form of meditation. Focusing on the feeling of loving kindness is a meditation. Using a mantra, spirit in, ego out. Spirit in, ego out is a meditation. Well, I thought I'm not supposed to have any thoughts. No, you were wrong. You are supposed to focus your consciousness in one place. It's okay to have thoughts. Yes, if you become some ascended spiritual master that we all visit the mountaintop and visit you in your cave someday, you probably won't have thoughts. Until then, spirit in, ego out. And I really want, for those of you who have struggled with this and are kind of interested in what I'm saying, I really want to challenge you to take from this talk today 1 minute, 3 times a day. First thing in the morning when you wake up, before your feet hit the ground, spirit in, ego out. 1 minute. If you're commuting to work, many of us are not any longer, but if you drive to the grocery store, sit in your car, set the timer on your phone, spirit in, ego out. Anytime you transition from one thing to another, 1 minute. You have 1 minute. In fact, how I teach meditation to my coaching clients is I don't even have them worry about their mind. Just sit still for 1 minute. Just sit still, just quiet the body. Notice how restless you are. This is the very beginning of reclaiming and recovering from your addiction to the ego. The degree to which your mind is running you versus you running your mind. 1 minute. 1 minute before you get out of bed. 1 minute in any transition in the car. 1 minute when you get into bed at night. That's 3 times a day, 1 minute. And then you know what you get to do? Do that one day and you get to say, oh, I'm a meditator. I'm a meditator. You get to go to that book club and be like, everybody meditating? Yeah, you'll be like, yep, I'm meditating. 1 minute, 3 times a day. See, because then it becomes your identity. And as it becomes your identity, you're like, oh, I didn't do my 1 minute. And then as that 1 minute gets really easy and it becomes a part of you, you're going to actually want to do it. And from there, you might even pursue 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Because when you notice the bliss of a quiet mind and the presence, celebrating the presence of Christ consciousness, you will be drawn to it. I was traveling home from DC, actually, going from DC to Boston about a year ago. And I walked in the bookstore and was looking at some books. And when I was doing that, I put down my work bag that had my computer in it, my wallet. And I walked out of the bookstore, went to get on the plane. I was at the seating area. They announced the gate, they announced boarding. And I reached down to pick up my bag and board. And I was like, oh shit, no bag. Oh my gosh. So they're boarding. And I quickly retraced my steps and I grabbed this guy, who's an attendant, and I grabbed this and I'm going around. I looked in the bookstore, walked around the section I was in. Of course, the metaphysical stuff was tucked away in the corner, as was my bag. So everybody's boarding and I'm standing, it's boarded and I'm standing there. Do I get on the plane without anything? Do I not? I had to teach a class that afternoon and my computer was in my bag and that had my deck for the class that I had to teach, and my wallet is in there. How am I going to get out of the parking garage? I'm not going to have my credit card. So do I get on? Do I stay? What am I going to do? And as I look up, this guy comes running with one of the people who work there, comes running down. He's like, I've got your bag. I've got your bag. And I ran up to him and I'm like all sweaty and I give him this big hug. He was like, I wasn't quite sure about that. I get on the plane, I sit down, and the first thing I wanted to do was meditate. I was implored to meditate, not like I sat down and thought, whew, I should meditate. It was like, no, meditation was now living me. I didn't have to have the thought. It thought me. And I centered myself. I quieted my mind. I did a prayer of gratitude and thanksgiving that my item was returned. So 1 minute, 3 times a day. The goal is not to have a quiet mind. The goal is to notice that your mind is a hot freaking mess. Well, at least that mine was. Yours, I'm sure, is completely fine. Mine was a hot freaking mess. Yeah, okay. All right, you ready for the second one? Okay, so that's the first one. Second way that you begin having a conditioned consciousness, you actually using your mind rather than your mind using you. It's my favorite teaching of all of my coaching. Do not believe everything you think. Just stop believing that. Start doubting your doubts. Start being afraid of your fears, right? Don't believe everything you think. So neuroscience tells us that people have the average thinker somewhere between 12,000 to more creative people, 40,000 thoughts a day, and that the majority of those are what are considered in the low consciousness realm: anxiety, judgment, fear, criticism, worry, lack, insufficiency, not good enough. That somewhere around 60% of the thoughts that we have are in the lower realm. So the second thing I want to say to you is your thoughts and feelings are not the truth. They're not your truth. They're simply, neurons firing in your brain. So while they are not the truth, when you believe them, they become your truth. They become your reality. So when I have a low consciousness, low vibe thought, I'm like, oh, thank you so much for sharing. You've been saying that since you were 12 years old. Can't you get more creative than that? Right? So don't worry about the fact that you're going to have low consciousness thoughts. You are not going to walk around with this like panacea of loving, accepting, high vibe thoughts every minute of every day. You're not. Want me to prove it to you? How do you feel when the grocery line is moving really, really slow and you got in the shortest one, but then the one with 10 more people finished before you did? Right? How do you feel when you're stuck in traffic? What goes through your head? You are not stuck in traffic. You are the traffic. Right? Don't believe everything you think. Do you know what I do when I'm in traffic? I have trained and conditioned myself. I just sit there and pray for all the people around me and for myself. Thank you, God, that I have a car. Sending love and light and blessings to all those people. I refuse to use my mind in such a way that I'm going to bitch and complain. I shouldn't say that. Then I'm going to whine and complain about traffic. What a waste of your God-given consciousness. So don't believe everything you think. When you're complaining about yourself, when you're telling disempowering stories to yourself about yourself, just don't listen. Thank you for sharing. I got that. Next. Right? So number 1 is meditation, even a minute, 3 times a day. Number 2, don't believe everything you think. Start doubting your doubts, fearing your fears. What you think is not the truth until you empower it as your truth. And don't empower anything that is a low consciousness, low vibration thought or emotion. It's like, oh, there it is again. Oh, there it is again. Thank you for sharing. Right? It's so much fun to not take yourself so seriously. Third one, practice acceptance and surrender at every moment of every day. And this is real. It sounds so easy, right? By the way, acceptance means this is the way it is. I lost the job. She left. I have the diagnosis. The furnace went up. Like it is like, this is what happened. That's acceptance. And surrender is, and there's nothing I can do to make it not happen, to reverse this. Now, there may be things that I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to look for the new job. Maybe I'm going to get out on the dating app and put myself out there again. Maybe there are actions I'm then going to take. But with the thing, it happened, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I accept and I surrender. Peace, be still. It happened, and I can't make it unhappen. Therefore, who am I going to be? Who am I going to invent myself as in the face of this? So number 1, meditation. Number 2, stop believing everything you think. And number 3, and this is so, so, so profound, practice acceptance and surrender. David Hawkins has a really good book called The Power of Surrender. Dr. David Hawkins. Michael Singer has a book entitled Surrender. So it's like people have written entire books on this notion. It is a powerful, powerful way to live, because we live in constant judgment about things, right? Like they should be this way. And why did they say that? And I wish they would do this differently. And it's like, no, let people be who they are, because they're going to be anyway. Right? Let people be who they are, because they're going to be anyway. And it doesn't mean you accept like abusive and disrespectful behavior. I don't mean that, but like, stop trying to change people. It's not your job. Don't take their inventory. So as you focus on conditioning your consciousness in this way and disciplining your mind in this way, you know, for a while, you might feel a little crazy. You might feel like 2 different people. The old you that used to kind of identify with this worrying and complaining and your addicted mind, and this new consciousness being birthed in you. It can feel a little crazy making, which reminds me of a book that a friend of mine wrote, Michael Meerdad. You're not crazy, you're just waking up. You're not crazy, you're just waking up. How perfectly true. And it can feel a little bit like you're going crazy. You're not going crazy. You are showing dominion over the ego by conditioning your mind and your emotions. I want you to hold that phrase. I'm showing dominion over the ego. So remember that it is you that is choosing to discipline your mind, to be lived by a higher purpose, to grow in consciousness. And you're doing marvelously. You are growing. You are becoming more loving, more centered, more peaceful. So I have something to tell you. I don't know if this is good news or bad news. You are the only one that can bring serenity to your life. You know, stop looking for somebody else to do this for you. You are the only one that can bring serenity to your life. You are not powerless over your thinking. You are not powerless over your emotions. And I say this as someone who has recovered from PTSD, major depressive episodes, episodes, multiples of them, addiction. I am recovered by the grace of God. You can, in fact, it is your spiritual journey to establish dominion over your thoughts and over your emotions. Borrow from the wisdom of the Apostle Paul. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all this through Christ who strengthens me. It is living in Christ consciousness that gives you the strength to do what I'm talking about today. It is conditioning your mind to think and your emotions to feel toward Christ consciousness that allows you to find serenity in unexpected places. Because the only place you can truly find serenity is in Christ consciousness and in your own mind. Thank you. Now into our quite quiet consciousness. Let's begin this time of meditation just by taking a deep breath. Allowing your body and your mind to come to stillness. And again, a deep cleansing breath. Notice that when your body becomes quiet and your breathing is still, your mind immediately follows suit. Allowing yourself now to come to a place of stillness and recognizing, affirming this truth that our thoughts are prayers and we are always praying. It is in establishing dominion over our egoic mind and living in Christ consciousness that we create serenity within and we create peace in our world. There are places in your life right now, today, that God is calling you to step up, to find serenity and bring peace to a certain situation, a relationship, your finances, some fear or frustration that you've been dealing with, some sense of lack. I invite you in this time of meditation to accept and surrender the circumstance that you're living in and choose not to believe the thoughts that have been weighing you down. It's in choosing not to believe the low consciousness thought and vibration of the ego that we free ourselves and we free our mind to create a new thought, a higher consciousness, that God is always there. So in this time of quiet reflection, I invite you to call to mind any area of your life that has been working you and challenging you, and allow yourself to step into a new mind, a new thought, a new consciousness. Let's take that thought now into the silence. And we thank you, God, for this time of silent reflection and meditation. We thank you for these thoughts, elevating our thoughts, releasing the lower vibration, subjugating the ego, so that what lives us each and every moment of each and every day is our Christ consciousness, as we affirm together that our thoughts are prayers. And so it is. Amen.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people walking by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow, they'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Before the closing prayer, I want to give very heartfelt thanks to both Jackie and Claudia. It was a lovely service. Thank you. And the closing prayer for me is one both of guidance and serenity. So, breathing in the moment, breathing into the moment, quieting the mind, stilling the heart, deepening into the silence, listening, allowing, open and receptive to divine guidance, dissolving limited understandings, letting go of what I think I know, accessing infinite wisdom. I am the knower that knows. I am divinely guided. I live and breathe into infinite wisdom with ease and grace, today and every day. And so it is.
We are so blessed here at Unity Center DC for extraordinary speakers, talented musicians who share with us each week their God gift, their message, their inspiration. And for us as recipients, I'd like you to take this moment and be grateful. If you want to express your gratitude by giving a gift to Unity Center DC, it's possible. We'll put up on the screen the options, but you can give online, you can mail a cash or a check to the address you'll see on the screen, so that we can continue this ministry, which has blessed us all. Thank you.